When you study in Canada, the immigration authorities expect you to follow certain rules. Those rules are enrooted in Section 220.1 of the regulations. Under that section, there are two requirements for every international student in Canada. The requirement number one is that you study at a designated learning institution. Obviously, when you apply for your study permit, you apply through a designated learning institution. However, when you come to Canada, you need to continue studying at a designated learning institution. If your school loses their designation and you still have a valid study permit, you may continue studying at the school. You don't really need to apply for a new study permit. However, if your study permit is expiring and you want to apply for a new study permit while your school has lost their designation, you must enroll at a new designated learning institution, obtain a new study permit, and then study at that new school. So it is in your best interest that if the school is losing their designation, think about another school. If you are inside Canada and you want to change your studies from one designated learning institution to another designated learning institution or DLI, you normally can do that. All you need to do is to inform IRCC through your account that you have changed your DLI and provide them with the new DLI number. Having said that, you also need to look at the limitations and conditions imposed on you on your study permit. If your study permit clearly says that you need to study at a specific designated learning institution, if you want to change your DLI, you need to apply for a new study permit or extend and change your status as a student to a new study permit. What about the second requirement? The second requirement says that you need to actively pursue your studies towards finishing your studies. There are two major elements here. First of all is the element of finishing your studies. This means that when you're studying in Canada, you shouldn't show behavior that the immigration authorities will think that your real intention is not to study in Canada. This means constant failure in your studies, dropping your courses, or changing institutions. Those are indications that maybe you are not serious about finishing your studies. The second one is that you need to actively pursue your studies. Actively pursuing your studies, it means that you register to the school and you study. If you decide to study online or study part-time, IRCC does not care as long as it comes to keeping your study permit and following the requirements of the study permit. However, if majority of your studies are online or you are part-time, those could affect your future application for a postgraduate work permit. If you are inside Canada and for some reason you decide to defer your studies, or for some reason the school forces you to defer your studies and you already hold a valid study permit, that's absolutely okay. However, the duration of not going to school for you must be less than 150 days. And during that deferral period, you are not allowed to work on the campus of school or off campus. If the duration goes beyond 150 days, then you need to change your status to a visitor or to a worker, or you need to leave Canada. If you don't take one of those three actions, then you are not compliant with the requirements of your study permit. Sometimes you are outside Canada and your studies are deferred or you are changing a school, those kind of situations. If you have not received your study permit yet, but the approval of the original study permit, you need, in those circumstances, apply for a new study permit. Do not travel to Canada unless you have secured a new study permit and then you can enter Canada with the new study permit. While you are in Canada, sometimes you need to take a leave of absence. And by leave of absence, I'm not talking about summer break or winter break. I'm talking about beyond regular breaks of the school, you decide to not to go to school for valid reasons. For example, because of pregnancy, because of illness, those kind of situations. Again, just like deferral, the duration must be under 150 days. If the duration is over 150 days, you need to either leave Canada or you need to change your status to a visitor or a worker. If the studies are resumed and you have changed your status to a visitor or worker, but your study permit is still valid, you can immediately go back to school and study. However, if your previous study permit is expired, in those situations, you need to apply for a new study permit and only go back to school if you have received a new study permit. Again, there are multiple documents that you need to keep to show to the immigration officers that you are following all the expectations under Section 220.1, because if you don't, then you could encounter problems. Keep that in mind that, of course, there are so many other details in there, and if you become non-compliant, the authorities can actually remove you from Canada. You could receive an exclusion order. An exclusion order means that you will have to leave Canada and you are not permitted or go back to Canada. You are banned from going back to Canada for 1 year. Not only that, if your behavior is in such a way that shows that you are not compliant with your study permit, it could also affect your future applications for study permit, work permit, or visitor visa to Canada. I have an article about this topic of compliance with the study permit requirements. I actually have multiple articles about this subject. I will post the links to those articles below this video. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, follow us on YouTube or Threads or Twitter, or now we call it X, and other platforms, and of course visit settler.ca. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I'm an adjunct professor at Queen's University Law School. I teach immigration courses, and I have written the bestseller book in the field of immigration on Amazon.ca called 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. You can also follow me on multiple social media platforms or visit our website.